very good afternoon to all of you. I represent AdFactors PR, India's largest PR firm. And for the benefit of the audience, though I am on the other side of the table today, for a significant part of my life and my career, I have been a marketing head and largely in financial services. So I'm so happy to see fellow panelists who come from the same domain. But today I have the opportunity of being on the other side and asking all the right questions that have been posed to me in the past. So I'm going to make the most of it. One of the things that I have realized in 20 years of working, especially in a category like financial services, is that the product is rather intangible. It's not as glamorous as a car or a high-end gadget, and it's not as playful as an Oreo biscuit. And yet, it's so core to what we do in our daily lives. That being so, I would like to throw upon this question to our panelists here. How easy or difficult has it been for you to try and market a product category which is very core and yet seemingly boring in an audience which is hyper-connected, very short on attention spans, and extremely crowded and cluttered? What's been the challenge and what different have you been able to do? Anybody?
I'll take the answer. So yeah, so I represent Policybazaar. I've been with the brand for roughly about 8 years now, give or take. And see, we are in the most boring category per se. Nobody gets up in the morning tomorrow and say, hey, I want to buy insurance today. Yeah. So nobody, irrespective of it being car insurance, which is a mandatory product over here in India as well. So for us to kind of ensure that there is enough demand or enough people who are asking about the insurance, you have to kind of look at how are you kind of trying to humanize the brand out over there first. Important is that. To humanize the brand, you kind of have to talk in the language that people are talking about, people are wanting to hear about. If I start giving jargons about no claim bonuses or claims ratio or something around it, nobody's going to kind of give me 2 cents about it, or kind of give me a minute to hear about it. And we are living in a day and age where the attention span is about 5 seconds or 7 seconds because of the Instagram reels or TikToks of the world. So for us to kind of do that, it was important to kind of break down the myths behind insurance in a terminology that was understandable by everybody and being ridiculously transparent. And for us, importantly, what happened was the influencers on the other side kind of came on board with us, started helping us knock down the various kind of jargons behind insurance. We also got behind them and kind of started investing a lot in our social, and our communication strategies kind of changed radically overnight. Yeah. So for us, it was important that for people to kind of know about from us, we have to kind of talk to them in their language and not from an awareness perspective, जहाँ पे brand का नाम डालते रहो तो लोग समझ जाएंगे.
Good point. Let's understand a completely different perspective from the other side of the spectrum. Nuvama Wealth, any different experiences?
It's working? Yeah. So I won't say it's boring because it's about money. Okay, so it's difficult for people to comprehend because over the years, that's what's happened. You know, we've not debunked or we've not made those complex terms easy for people to understand. Because it's about my money, I'm going to be extra careful and cautious, right? So I wouldn't say it's boring, but yes, for us, as you rightly mentioned, sorry, Anuj, that for us also it was very important and necessary that we talk in a language that the customer, that the audience understands, okay? So that's how we break down on concepts, that's how we make our marketing campaigns, and that's how we go about it. And at the same time, it's from employees to our partners to clients. So everybody needs to understand the language and talk in the same language. So if I am, say, running a campaign, if my employees are not able to communicate the same, or if my partners, my extended, army there, if they are not able to communicate the same thing, then it's of no use, right? So that's how we educate these guys, and that's how we do the promotions.
Sure. Interesting perspective. Let's understand from Fino Bank. Fino, you've been a microfinance company for a very long time, now a payments bank. And unlike a universal bank which offers all assets as well as liabilities, payment banks have a certain play. What's been your challenge and what's been your strategy?
So I'm not sure how many people know about Fino and our business model. So our business model is primarily rural. Okay, started as a payments bank which that serves underbanked and unbanked segments of India. So if I ask 10 people here, probably 5 would not know what Fino does. However, if I ask the same question in, say, East UP or maybe a village in Telangana, I might get more than 8 guys raising their hands. Okay, so, but that's how the business has been built over a period of time. So the challenge was to reach out to rural because reaching out to rural, the cost is very high. Given the fact payment banks are not allowed to lend, there is a limited source of revenues that you have. The best part is that gives us the challenge to innovate. Now, if I look at things like how many people open the bank account, everyone has the bank account. How much time does it take to open an account with the universal bank? Today, if you walk to any of the branch here, how long will you take? How long? Just give me an answer. Sorry? 1 or 2 days. I can give you in 5 minutes, flat. And that too in East UP. Forget about the cities, but in East UP. And that's the technology innovation. The debit card, what you generally receive in 7 days, I give it what we say a Hathwar debit card. You open an account 5 minutes, in the next 2 minutes you have a debit card in your hand, which is typically activated within an hour or two. Only except if there is some kind of leave, so it's a banking holiday, so it's about 24 hours. So that's my promise, that you get the account within 5 minutes, flat, without filling up any lengthy forms. Now, coming back, so that's an opportunity. So we have done, and we have expanded across India, which is, we call it asset light model. And we have about 1.7 odd million merchants who acts as your banker. So it's a neighborhood shop, mobile shop, or a kirana shop that opens 24/7, almost 365 days. So you can go at 10 o'clock in the night, you can open the account or withdraw money. That's...
Sure. So it's interesting. I'm going to turn to Neha. My question is, we have points of presence or points of sale, like you call them. So most of the merchant outlets also double up as points of sale. For companies which are into brick and mortar like banks, branches also become point of sale. For companies like Policybazaar, who always operate online, that is their only point of sale. What's been your experience in the way you've marketed? What have you defined as points of sale?
So, hi everyone, my name is Neha. I'm from ZepPay. We are a cryptocurrency exchange. So, like everybody defined their industry as like boring, it's, okay, it's interesting. For us, I think it's been like a very curious industry from the day one, and it is till date today. I mean, that is one of the fact which we cannot change because we are still at a very nascent stage. So while overall, like, I'll just kind of come to your question, but overall, I think I have now completed 5 years. So I would be easily considered as one of the veterans in the industry because overall Bitcoin is like a 17-year-old or a 15-year-old asset. And ZepPay has been in India for the last, like this 25th this month we'll complete 11 years in India. But the concept of like, okay, should I invest in Bitcoin? Should I not invest in Bitcoin? How much should I invest in Bitcoin? Today, even in today's date, people have that question mark as to, okay, like, dalu paise ya na dalu. We wouldn't think of, one will spend conservatively about 3,000 per month on like a food ordering app, or maybe like, on any fashion app, like average value or the lowest conservative value would be like $1,000 or $2,000. But the minute it comes to crypto, not investment, but when it comes to crypto, you can invest from 100 rupees, or like you can invest as low as like 1,000 rupees and all of that, and you can diversify your 1,000 rupees. But that doubt of, oh my God, that money will go. So I think that is one element which we've been kind of trying to ease in users' mind. And for that, from the day one, the way we've marketed is kind of, it's been like right now, and if I have to average out, the experience has been like digital for us, because only digital, only like, it's end of the day, it comes to education. I mean, that is the cornerstone of trust for any BFSI product. And I keep mentioning this, that for any BFSI product, it is, like it's important for crypto partners or platforms. It is 5x important or 50x important when it comes to like basic, solving basic questions like what is the process. It is as similar to opening your account in any bank or any payment gateway for that matter. You have to complete your KYC. It is very, very important. It is, first of all, it is legal in India. So solving, doubts like these, like the daily FAQs, which, when you sit with your friend and you're like, crypto ad dikhi, abhi kare kya isme? And those 2-3 seconds ka question which you have in your mind, right? Like giving those answers in different formats, be it like short videos, longer videos, Hindi videos, regional videos, or like in whatever form of content in which today people consume. I think that has been that's the approach, that we've been. And any forward-thinking brand today, I think, have now, and which I kind of advocate also, has shifted from like selling outcomes to kind of, owning your education approach, because that kind of connects with the user in the long run. So I think that's been our approach.
I think that's a
for some
refreshingly
time.
new perspective to a product category which is so nascent in India. Interestingly, our friend here represents insurance, which is India's largest under-penetrated category. If she has a tough job to do of creating awareness and educating people about her category, he has a problem of plenty. Everyone knows they need to have, yet they don't have. How do you solve for that gap?
So I was about to correct you. So we are not just an online brand now. About 4 years back, we started something called the Policy Bazaar stores. Today, we are present in about roughly 13,000 pin codes. We kind of give you from assistance of filling up a form to kind of in a claims kind of a service for a health insurance or a life insurance within 30 minutes. That's the claim, and that's kind of also been validated by multiple third-party agencies. We kind of have a brand called PE Partners that I kind of also look at. That PE Partner brand now kind of aggregates the offline insurance agent. So from a single agency or a single insurance company agent, when a person partners with PE Partners, he becomes a partner of a multiple agency, multiple insurance companies, and multiple products. So what we are trying to do is we're also kind of trying to innovate ideas as to how are we kind of able to make furthermore inroads out. As Prashant kind of clearly mentioned out, there is a huge demand and a supply gap in the tier 2, tier 3 towns, and we are trying to fulfill that through both PB Partners and Policy Bazaar shops. We are trying to kind of go over there and kind of interact with users, kind of interact with customers over prospects over there, and kind of trying to be speaking in that colloquial language over there itself, and kind of ensuring them that, hey, it's not that just an online brand that's kind of come over here. It's a brand that's kind of been grown up from India, and it's kind of going to work with you to kind of get you the safety or your nominee the claim amount in case of an unfortunate event that's going to happen out over there. That's what we are trying to do here.
Interesting. Ritika, I'm going to come to you. There are MNC banks who offer wealth management services. There are private sector banks like ICICI, HDFC who offer wealth management services. How do you create differentiation in the market for a company whose reason for existence is wealth? What kind of challenges have you faced? And as a marketer, how different have you been able to circumvent this?
So, I don't know, like Prashant mentioned, for me as well, Nuvama Wealth was earlier part of Edelweiss Group. We got demerged and then we got listed. So that's how it's been 2.5 years. And, we are a standalone company by itself now. So when we were Edelweiss back then as well, we had a legacy of more than 25 years. Initially when, the company started, it was into IB. Something which B2C, consumers obviously, direct consumers would not know about, would not experience that kind of a brand. And in our industry, thanks to all the banks, the kind of spends, the kind of, awareness that they create. So obviously there is this fight that keeps happening. But for us, I think something that's been different, because in a bank, that's how we even communicate or talk to our clients. You are an account number. Okay, in a way, okay? But when you associate with Nuvama Wealth, we are going to be, considering you as a unique customer, okay? So we will understand what are your needs. You get a dedicated relationship manager, not just, to manage your transactions, but to understand why do you want to invest, what do you want to do. And it's not that we are just doing this for the people who've got a lot of surplus money, no. So we have both the, so that's what we understood, that there is some audience who wants to use, the power of compounding, wants to grow that money that they have. So we have different categories of accounts. So something which is light, something which is elite. So if you have a lot more, obviously, There'll be different instruments where you'll be investing. But with such different, so the challenge is obviously there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of banks, players, because you already have a bank account. When you open a bank account, they tell you up demat account kholo, investment account kholo, right? But because you don't get that kind of a service, and that's where we come in, and that's how over the years, we have worked and catering to different, sort of requirements, like building different light elite plans and then trying to cater to them according to their needs. I think that's been the
Sure.
support for us.
Thank you. Prashant, I have a question for you, which is, I've worked for Indian banks, I've worked for foreign banks, and somehow you find these clusters, all foreign banks are grouped together, Indian banks are grouped together, private sector banks are grouped together, and payment banks are grouped together. What do you see as competition? Do you see payment banks as a competition? Do you see universal banks as a competition? What's your play?
That's an interesting question. If I were whether I think outside in or inside out, that's what the answer differs. Okay, if it is inside out, then I would say that's, all other payments banks are my competition. But if I look at my customer, and as a marketer, that's my primarily job, to understand the customer. So anyone who considers an account, savings account or current account, everybody is my competition. Everyone. All right. But as a marketing, I don't have the deep pockets that I can keep spending on each of those customers. So that's where I do the persona and, all those marketing jargons. I don't want to talk about it here. But that's where we arrive at our niche. Whom do you want to target and why do we want to target them? As simple as that. So, so to give you an example, there are something called RRBs, Regional Rural Bank. Then there are cooperative banks. You talk about only universal, but the universe itself is a very large one, in the space that we operate in. So it's basically what we offer and whom do we go after? Where do I spend that dollar? As simple as that.
I'm going to come to the cryptocurrency of the year, which is we have predominantly digital outfits who have also gone the offline way because they get maximum coverage, maximum reach. We have people who've started grounds up like Fino, and you are a category by default which started digital because of the nature of the product. Has there ever been a temptation to go offline, to have more physical presence as a means of reaching closer to the customers? Does it make economic sense to do something like that, or you've stuck to digital ways of information dissemination? What's been your model?
So, thank you for asking that. I mean, that's why, in my earlier response also, I said that, the mix that has been working for us has been phygital. So, digital right now for every brand, it's become a necessity to be present on that platform. And it's obviously the cost effective. Everybody knows this. So, digital, obviously, you have to be there and you are there. Nature of the product, yes, it's digital. Today, I think all the other products are also digital in nature, be it like mutual funds or any other investments that you talk about. Reaching out to the users. So, I'll actually give you an example. We've started this from last 2 years. So, one is like we've started participating. There were a lot of inquiries, which used to come our way from like, say, family offices and institutions as to, okay, what is your product? Are you there in India? How do you function and all of that? And are you at any of the activations? And we were thinking, should we go ahead? Does it make sense? Is it like too much retail? Will the leads convert? But the experience has been like, I think, we should have started earlier, sort of a learning that we had for in couple of ways. One is like we get to, again, meet our existing users. So we've met so many people. I mean, at every event, we've met one customer who's been like as per the survey, any which way, 70% of Indians who invested in Bitcoin, the first platform that they invested was Zeppay because it's an Indian brand. It's the brand that started in Ahmedabad. And right now we have offices in 4 locations and we have more than 6 million users. So we end up meeting customers and that becomes like a validation as to, okay, like, even if this is a niche category, people are wanting, more of this. So people will be like, hey, I bought my Bitcoin there. I still have my account. I've been on your platform for last 6 years. Then they give you feedback. Like the existing meetups with existing customers it's like the learning, the product team can dream for. So that is one. We do get to meet with a lot of people who kind of become our partners to in fact distribute this concept to to like a larger database, which is beyond digital, because everyone in India would have opened their first whatever SIP or like some shares with like some uncle would have told, and which their fathers or somebody would have trusted. And these are the users who are there to explore that what are the alternate assets for investments. They come, they tell you that okay, this is what we need, and then you get to position your product in a certain way that okay, we'll provide you literature. Okay, what format do you want in? What frequency is required? Is it only like, do you need emails? Because they've also evolved. So that is like a newer, if I would have like sat on my laptop and like, chat GPT, if I would have searched, this suggestion would have not come my way. So that I think has helped us more. One of the latest initiative that, Zeppe has taken is that we thought that, okay, why not like just test this, that create like an invitation for Bitcoin masterclass. Again, based on a lot of questions, they were like, do you do any webinars? Do you do any meetups? And we were like, we can't do so many, training sessions. And if you go live, people don't have time to join in at that point of time. We were like, let's go organic. Let's create like a link on Luma saying that it's a Bitcoin masterclass. Like, before investing, know your why. Just come. There's no pressure of investing, trading, opening an account, even downloading an app. Just know about Bitcoin. And we just circulated that link. Right now also there is not like a penny spent on that promotion. We get thousands of registrations to a point that we have to pause that promotion, that okay, we can't take more participants. People travel all the way in Mumbai. Everybody, the first thing everybody questions is where do you stay, how much time does it take to travel. Our office is in Kurla, Phoenix. It's not like a most central location, but we have like hundreds of people traveling there just for that 1.5 hour session. It's no fancy, like hotel or anything which people come for. Just with a mere fact as to we just want to know what's there. So physical initiatives like these they definitely kind of revalidate or kind of add more confidence in terms of communicating the product. So I think you can't be just physical promotions or digital. Digital is the way at this point in time for a product like us.
Interesting. Anuj, I always I've been quite intrigued by your category and your brand. There are so many insurers in the country, and yet when anyone in the market wants to buy a policy, the first destination they'll go to is not an insurance website, but yours. It's a remarkable toolkit on how to market your services in a category you don't own. You're a platform service, but over a period of time, you become larger than any individual. How do you go ahead from this point? Because you've already established yourself. Incremental growth may not come as easy as the past. What's your challenge and how do you circumvent that?
See, yes, incremental growth is not coming cheap for us. And that's only true for digital. And that's also one of the reasons that we kind of went ahead and kind of said that let's go for digital, as Neha kind of coined that word very correctly. PB Partners is a digital brand, but we kind of are partnering with offline agents who are meeting with people offline. Policy Bazaar shops, Policy Bazaar claim support people, Policy Bazaar employees sitting in those 13,000 locations are an example of us kind of trying to reach out to kind of grow our kind of whole base out. And that's also one initiative that we as a organization are taking, that yes, that 3.4% mark of a percentage of a GDP or whatever you want to kind of call it is not increasing. It's us also important for us to kind of, it grows out, because if that grows, we grow out further out faster. So for us, it's important that we are present at multiple locations, multiple touch points from a consumer perspective, so that whenever they are wanting to kind of understand a product out, we are there. Till about 2022, there used to be people, not just people, there used to be thousands of people used to kind of come send a query to us and said, hey, why can't you kind of send somebody to our house? We kind of understand the product out, we kind of understand the kind of check we can write. technically till 2022, we used to kind of say on a term insurance policy, have an average ticket size of roughly about 20,000 bucks. Right now, that's gone up to as high as 26,000 bucks. That's because when you meet somebody out over there or in person out, there's a level of trust that kind of also increases out over there. That yes, somebody has kind of come to my house, kind of helped me understand the product out over there. And for other products as well, for health insurance, for investment products also, it's kind of grown out further out over there. So for us, the reason to kind of be out there and to meet and interact or be in the midst of those communities is for us to kind of grow out over there.
I
Interesting.
like to add,
interesting.
I
Yes,
mean,
please.
in our industry only, it's about money, as I mentioned earlier. You know, for all of us, we want, okay, if I'm buying anything, if I'm putting my hard-earned money, if there is somebody, you know, around, if something goes wrong, I can just go running to that place, you know. I think that is something all of us need. So Phygital is the way, at least for a country like India, you know.
Exactly. So, for example, we sell a product which is not sold by any agent called term insurance. The benefit of that product is only taken by the survivor or the nominee of the product. So if I die, my wife gets the crore or whatever kind of I look at investing out. So the first question we used to get on the phone is, "यार मुझे तो कुछ फायदा हो नहीं रहा, मेरी बीवी को का मैं क्यों लूँ?" So यार, so for us to kind of first break down that myth. So in 2013 we took a call that we'll only sell term and health insurance and we'll sell it aggressively. And we kind of today are proud to say that we are the only broker who's kind of pushing term insurance out. Now, the insurance company also don't want to do that. It's not a great product over there for them. So yeah, so it's basically kind of knocking the doors multiple times with the customer and kind of being amongst them. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Ritika, give us a sense. We always believe you're all metro and tier 1 city bred. Is wealth a very metro product category? Do you see a lot of uptake from remote areas, tier 2, tier 3? Give us a sense of your experience of marketing there.
So earlier, even that was I would say that was a misconception for us also, because it's always been, okay, whenever you're making the plan, top 8 cities, okay, and then we will consider जो भी, you know, बाकी बच्चे कुछ cities है उसमें कुछ कर लेते हैं. But now that's not the case. I think the tier 2 cities, they have deeper pockets, and like I've had experiences in Jaipur is one of the places. I mean, obviously that's not tier 2, you know, in a way, but you go and meet people and you might just think, I was there with my one of the wealth managers along with me. You will look at the customer, you might not even think that's the value, you know, the net worth that he has. And the conversation and the education, they are exposed to the different asset classes, everything that's available in the market. So earlier we were like, okay, people are not aware. Awareness is there. And thanks to the influencers and thanks to the other brands across, that, you know, that level of awareness has increased. And I mean, I can't give the numbers out here, but yes, we've seen that shift happening, and we've seen and we have a lot more locations opening up in these cities, because as we rightly said, you need to be present there. Again, it's about money, and here, deeper the pockets, you need somebody that if something goes wrong, I'll call that wealth manager home, or I would want to discuss, you know, whatever is about my investment or whatever. So you need people in those cities. So we are opening up in those cities. That's one of the reasons.
Sure. Prashant has the exact opposite problem to solve. If she started with metro and then go deeper and penetrate the interiors, you started exactly on the other side. What's been your experience going upwards?
So this is okay. So it's a unique challenge because most of the other banks, Universal Bank, who started in the metros, they are going downwards now, and we are trying to go upwards. Okay, so we are gonna meet, and many of the places we are meeting. All right. So here the question is, whose product is good, or more than a product, I think it's a personal connect, you know, and the value proposition. But our experience has been pretty encouraging especially in the second tier town or three tier town. So we have been present traditionally in the, like, you can think of a hamlet with about 10 houses, and we are there. Okay. Now moving from there upwards towards tier 4, tier 3, tier 2, I think that has been an exciting journey. So in fact, one of the key thing is we are doubling down on the digital business, you know. And fortunately, it's been growing in the double digit, and not a double digit like 10, 11, but a lot more, you know. So over a period of last 3 years, there's been heavy investments. Besides that, it's delivering results. There are products being launched specially for this audience, which is the second tier or third tier town, you know. So what we call it as Indian middle class, I would say that. So this middle class exactly where it's probably a government employee or maybe an employee with any of the company, you know, that is based out of those cities or towns, I would call it as. And the receptiveness is pretty huge because of our proposition, because it's a neighborhood banking, what we call it as, you know, that some of the words or some of the phrases that we use in our communication is like gali gali fino, you know, or fino hamesha. So those are actually position ourselves, us in a way that's okay. We are really about the convenience, because everything comes down to convenience. You want a bank, it's next to you. Why do you want to work?
Understand. Yeah, give us a sense of, you know, we have half the population sitting here who's the younger lot and the Gen Z. Has the Gen Z cryptocurrency equation worked yet in India?
Not, I mean, I wouldn't, you know, I would want to, it is something which kind of people believe that Gen Z, yes, is very looking forward or something like that. But registrations, yes. Simple answers. Are they more open? Yes. But the, you know, quick fact check there is that if you see more from a brand perspective or a platform perspective, the investment mindset, or even to, like we at least promote, you know, like investments more than trading. So, but if I have to, since we are an exchange, and if I look at both these features, like be it trading or investments, the, you know, like the wallets with deposits, or like the, it has come from like more mature users. So registrations, downloads, and, you know, like, okay, like a quick decision, let me explore. You see a lot of Gen Zs doing that. But people who've been on the platform for the longest, who are exploring more features, who are consistently investing, from whom we want to really highly retain on the platform, is, I think, that maturity just by the nature of, you know, like in humans, I think that kicks in only at a later stage in life. So that population is very much like from like a 26 to 45. So yeah, I mean that's been the experience.
That takes me to Ritika. Are you seeing a lot more women participation in wealth?
Yes, very much. And earlier we've seen that, you know, I remember doing this myself because I lead one of our program, Blue Bindi, at Novama. So when we started this 5 years back around Women's Day, we did the calling of, you know, we have details of our clients, okay? The account name is of female. When you call, back 5 years back, 2020 when we started, you would call on that number. You would ask her, ये मेरा account है, but मेरा पति या मेरा बेटा वो manage कर रहा है. But today, you know, or maybe when we did this around March again, starting of this year, when we randomly picked up some accounts and did the calling to understand, is there a shift? So the shift is that, yes, there is a lot more understanding. There is a lot more say on the table. So if I'm not doing it directly, but at least I participate in the conversation, okay? So I know, and that's changing, evolving again because of education, right? Because you need that kind of awareness, and, you know, you need to expose yourself. So initially you might, and women as investors are very conservative because we know we don't take those many risks. But what studies and what we've seen, but once women invest, they do it for the long run, and the results are way better, returns are better than, you know, the way men would do it. So yes, that shift clearly with something that I'm doing in-house, I've seen that. And I think that's evolving in the industry as well.
Is that similar for your category, not in terms of gender, but in terms of age group, that more younger force that is coming into work? Are they, for his category, I'll come back to you again, saying, are you seeing more younger people's participation in the insurance buying market?
No, unless it's car insurance.
Yeah. Because even we sell insurance. So that's something even I can relate to.
What's driving this behavior? That why is it that
The day I
youngsters...
get my first paycheck, insurance is the last thing on my mind.
Yes. You
A
live
trip
only
to
once.
Thailand or
The
Goa or
YOLO.
Netherlands is my first thing that I would want to do.
Let's take a poll around the room. Does the audience here believe the same way that if I'm too young, at best I'll buy a car, and if at all, then car insurance is the only necessary. Everything else can wait. Is that the general philosophy? Let's just see a show of hands. Oh wow, you have a lot more selling to do. Yes? I'm
I'll
coming.
take numbers for each of them and kind of give them a call. And the biggest pain that they will kind of come back and say, policies are बहुत call करता है.
That's true.
Your fault. Yeah, you wanted something also, you should buy out
No,
also,
I'm
right?
taking insurance. Yeah, I've done it via policy.
Prashant, we've heard a lot of stories of companies who've been in microfinance who started out there. That, like she said, there's a change in the way there's women participation. I've been part of a microfinance company, and the women participation in that part of the business has been very predominant, and they also tend to be sticky. Has some of that reflected when you became the bank?
I think this is an interesting insight there, and we proudly take that as a badge of honor. Okay, so one of the stat is out of my 1.7, 1.8 million merchants, 10% are women.
Wow.
And it's not like women holders the name and the man is managing the business. It's the women managing the business, and they are the merchant partners. That's one point, data point. The second data point is my accounts. There are about one third of my accounts are women account. You know, so we went ahead and we launched one of the most expensive product. By the way, our product is little different than what you otherwise see in the market. Our product is the SaaS product. So every year I charge you money to renew the savings account and keep it with you. Okay. And okay, coming back to the women's
That's absurd. I mean, you're charging me to keep my own account and my own money in my account. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Okay, and you wouldn't believe that my renewal rate is about 70%, which is as good as most of the successful SaaS companies in the world, if you really look at that. Okay, so that's the second data point. But coming back to the women's account, so one third in the normal scenario. So we have launched one of the most expensive product for the women. And fortunately, but it was targeted towards the tier 2 and tier 3 working women, or maybe in Bombay, but the suburb Bombay, like you have Panvel and Vasai Virar, you know, the guys, girls, like they travel all the way to office the whole day, come back, and while coming back, they will pick up some grocery, kuch sabji kharidenge, you know, train station se, then go back home and they have a chore to do, ghar ka. That's the woman we targeted, the persona. And fortunately, we have been receiving pretty good response there. And one of the key thing is the activation in those accounts are one of the highest in the overall digital. It's a digital account. So within the digital set of accounts, its activation is pretty high.
I'm sure, Neha, your experience on crypto must be very different, where women participation must be very minusculely slow. Is that a reality?
I think it is pretty much in standard. I mean, crypto, I think it's new for everybody. I mean, gender, irrespective of what gender, but it's like 20%. So which I think it's very much in my experience of, you know, people into loans or any other category that you see. So it is not, I mean, one thing that we've seen is in the last couple of years is definitely increase in the number of women investors on an annual basis, but it's pretty standard here.
Anuj, I have a question which is Policybazaar, for the kind of marketplace it is, most decisions tend to be taken based on one P of marketing, which is price. As a marketer, what's the opportunity you have to go beyond price to create some kind of a value prop?
I would have agreed to you if you would have been speaking about 7-8 years back. Value has overtaken price, and value comes with as to what's the kind of coverage am I getting. If in case of health insurance, is the hospital next to me covered? Is the pre-existing disease covered? In case of car insurance, is there a zero debt? Is there a return to invoice? And similar on other products. So people have just gone beyond the concept of price now in a lot of products over there. So users are not looking at कि यार सस्ता है तो अच्छा होगा. They've kind of understood that I need to have a value which is, there is a premium in my head that I need to pay. But with that premium, I also need to get some 3, 4, 5 things. If that's available to me in that price point or around that price point, I will go for it. In case it's not, I will try and kind of stretch my budget out a bit. Because those 3, 4, 5, that will kind of make the whole policy more comprehensive. And that's good. They know that's going to help them protect it out.
Good perspective. I never thought of it like that. I actually thought it is still a very price-led market. Ritika, my question to you, most places which offer wealth as a service or as a product offering typically their customers come in as a savings account customer and then upgrade or graduate to that. So it also always is how you grow in life. When you're a wealth company whose first product is wealth, what is the degree of difficulty as a marketer to sell a product which for years together people have kind of upsold to? Is that a very difficult thing to do?
I think the first thing was, people think that to have or to be associated with a wealth management company, you need to have a lot of wealth. So, we used to get these queries, मुझे wealth manager मिलेगा, मेरे पास इतना पैसा नहीं है. So I was like, that's not the point. That's now not, that's not the way we function, or that's not the way it goes, right? So it's the investments you start with. So that was the first thing that we had to. And also there are some people who will be like, I don't need a wealth manager because I know I have somebody managing for me. Bank mein idhar SIP chal raha hai, direct kar raha hu, I don't know. But you don't have a consolidated view. So you have, both these two kind of people. So we had to first go out and tell them that, okay, everybody who is looking to grow their wealth, who is looking to grow their money, not even wealth, start your investment journey, you can get a wealth manager. So that was the first thing that, you explain the audience that, okay, it is not that I need to start my SIP with the bank, but I can approach a wealth management company. And in a way, wealth management, we are a distributor of all the financial assets. So I'm selling insurance, I'm selling mutual funds. You directly come and place equity trades, on my app. So there is everything under one roof. So the challenge has been that okay, it's wealth management. You don't need that kind of money to start with. You just need to open your account, start your journey, and that's how you grow.
Interesting, but I always thought wealth needed a wealth manager as a bundled offering. I must have had several wealth managers in the past so many years, and I never even actually used their services because I didn't know the value they could do. But coming to you, Neha, that for a category which is seemingly complex and seemingly new as compared to banking insurance, you've chosen to go do it yourself way. Has this temptation of having an equivalent of a wealth manager to guide, to advise, handhold, ever been a big driver of business for you?
So, absolutely, yes. I mean, that is how, the actual hand-holding to the user really functions. I mean, that's how at least it happens in India. We're all used to having, if not an advisor, there is an agent. There is always like a relationship manager that you get in touch with. I mean, we are a very service-led mindset. I mean, once you have your bank account and you have like more than 50,000, you automatically are assigned a service manager. So that concept is, it's not like very, very DIY in today's state as well. Now, by the nature of business that we are in at this point in time, there is like, this is one of the segments that we've started, but to cater to like a large scale or in a very, where the framework is very, very structured, that I think will take about 1 or 2 years. But to partner with like, generally you partner with another agency or another brand or another service provider. But with the nature of business that we are into, there are a lot of regulatory restrictions that are there on the partners to get associated with a cryptocurrency exchange to provide those kind of services. Individually as a brand, we are doing that for like a certain segment of customers. So Zeppe does has like, it's like an OTC desk, which is like your elite desk. You can book like 1 Bitcoin over like a WhatsApp message or like, over like 1 message to our team, and you can pay the price of 1 Bitcoin later, but you can book it. So such services like the elite desk, these are in place, but not at par at this point in time with like how like a another bank or another big wealth management agency would function. But because you have to look at the overall, this industry is right now maturing. It is still like a 3.5-year market. So there is like, there's a bull run and there is a bear run, as opposed to a mother industry which is more than 100 years old, which is pretty much stable. So from business optics point of view and capex opex, this service will, it's going to be launched full-fledged for Indian users as the market matures a little bit and acceptance, like deepens in India. But does that service exist today? Yes. To like a good number of users with, with certain portfolio, yes. But it is yet to evolve for all the users.
Interesting. Anuj, most insurance providers always have that Jan, Feb, March hockey stick, where everyone in the world wants to buy during that time, tax purpose, all of that. And that must be putting huge strain on your entire capacity to be able to service people like that. How do you manage all of this?
So Jan, Feb, March, yes, is a key period, but we've kind of started to see normalizing over a few months as well. So yeah, yes, we kind of tend to stretch as a team, both at the operations, which is our call center, which is the heartbeat of Policy Bazaar, and at very multiple other levels, from the servicing side to the issuance side to. So we kind of overstretch over there, and we kind of do whatever's best possible. We kind of have put a few AI kind of tools in place now for kind of a basically a servicing kind of a query or kind of issues around policy issuance and stuff. We kind of try and push some towards queries about to the AI, but most of it still is through human, because it's a product which is kind of only be kind of scrolled through an empathy kind of a side. But yeah, we try and do that.
Sure. Prashant, you know, you've been a brick and mortar for a while. You've had a microfinance piece. With digital becoming so integral to what you're doing, has it taken off the load on your feet on street and more products are getting sold digitally, and hence from a marketing standpoint, your bandwidth is getting spent more on selling products digitally as compared to assisting salespeople? Do you see that trend?
Yes, it is. In fact, the digital has been helping our sales force. So within our organization, Salesforce is the feet on street is the largest within the human resource. You know, they constitute a large part of it because we cover a lot of places. It's like FMCG distribution model. What we have been seeing to use the digital for the more of enabling them. So when they go to the merchants, how do I enable them to cross-sell, upsell, and so on and so forth. So, and that's where my major focus has turned into now.
Thank you so much. I think this has been such an interesting conversation. I wish we could have gone on, but I know the hooter's gone on. Any questions from the audience? Anyone wants to ask anything before we do a wrap? All right. Thank you so much. You've been an extremely interesting and a very educated panel. I'm so happy to hear a lot of insights. These are things we weren't aware of as an audience, but thank you.